Got it heckler.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Are we starting? Oh, we are starting.
I don't know. It's a very sparse audience. All right, so how's everyone doing? Great, awesome. All right. Thank you. Thanks for your energy, sir, in the back corner. My name is Mark Fournier. I have with me Mr. Ryan Klumph.
Hey.
We're here today to do a very brief chat about TAM and the value of TAM that we've seen as an organization, and overall try and give some information back on how it might be relevant to your all's business. So the first thing we've got to talk about, does this work? This is good. Let's give it a shot. Should we? Let's try it. No, it doesn't work. I don't know. Old school. So what is TAM? What does TAM mean? Is it totally awesome mustache? No. Is it tacos are mandatory? Yes, they are. Absolutely. Definitely. No. And it has nothing to do with the platypus. Ryan, can you talk us through what TAM is?
I'll talk about TAM, but first thing I want to do is ask you guys a question. Who remembers Nintendo Power Magazine?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Gentleman in the back.
In the back. Yeah. Did you have a subscription? Your brother did. Okay, so close enough. But you wish you had the subscription. Right. Okay. So for those that don't know, Nintendo Power Magazine was a gaming strategy magazine that was published in the late 80s for a little over 20 years. And they published, I think, 285 issues over the course of that time. And gamers loved this magazine, okay? They loved it for a lot of reasons. First thing is that, if I could whittle it down here, right? It gave them insider access. So subscribers to the magazine would be the first in the know, right, about getting exclusive content. Sometimes they would hear directly from game developers about behind the scenes work, why things were designed and built the way that they were built, right? So this kind of gave them a competitive edge over their friends when they were gaming, and their friends didn't have this kind of knowledge, right? Secondly, it would give them expert guidance, okay? I mean, for some of us, right, if we were playing games back then, you'd find yourself in maybe a dark dungeon or a cave, right? Something where it's like, okay, I'm going in circles here. It's been hours. I'm spending way too much time on this. Lo and behold, maybe they printed a map right in the magazine of that exact route, right? So you knew exactly where to go, how to efficiently get from A to B. And then lastly, strategic planning, right? Okay, so in the 90s when I was a kid, I didn't call this strategic planning, but that's essentially what it was, okay? They would say, hey, there's a boss over here, okay, and it's going to be tough. So you're going to need to go over here first and talk to these people, grab these items, level this stuff up before you head over there if you want to be successful, right? Otherwise, you're going into the dark. See what happens. So TAM is kind of like the Nintendo Power to your team, okay? I don't think it's too much of a stretch. Let's revisit this just a little bit. Insider access, okay? TAMs love helping customers. We live and breathe that. So we help navigate the inner workings of Broadcom. If you need direct lines of access to things like product managers, we can help facilitate that. And that gives you a lot of neat things like, we can talk roadmaps with them. We can talk about feature requests or feedback that you have from working with the products, right? That goes directly back to the business units that are responsible for that product. Maybe it's getting you direct access to engineering for some support challenges that are impacting production, or beta programs, or exclusive technical content. So insider access, right? You guys have that advocate on the inside at all times. TAMs also have, if we move on to expert guidance, TAMs have a lot of tools at our disposal to help guide you towards success. So that can be things that are tailored to your environment and to your data, looking at best practices, looking at health checks, having reports about capacity and utilization. And then lastly, strategic planning, okay? TAMs have success plans that essentially, they help you define and support your IT roadmap strategies and then align those to the goals of the business, okay? So again, I don't think it's too much of a stretch here, but if we want to look at the datasheet definition of TAM, it's a technical adoption manager, and it's the best way for you to organize, for your organization to accelerate Broadcom technology adoption, reduce risk and cost, and maximize the value of your investments, both current and future. Okay, that's the textbook definition, right? But more about TAMs. Who are these people, right? They're just technology professionals who have a diverse tech background and who ultimately really enjoy turning challenges into wins, especially for our customers. The technical in technical adoption manager is really something that we like to have an emphasis on.
Yeah.
Because we will have we're required to have these current VCPs, or VCF specialist certifications. We go through robust technical training every quarter, and what we do is we embed ourselves into your team. Okay, we meet with your team regularly. We have become extensions of your team and work our way to being a trusted advisor, and dare I say, even perhaps friends.
Well, yeah, I think so. I think we can be friends.
Fair to say.
Fair to say.
But your priorities become our priorities, okay? So it's interesting. Forrester did a study a couple years ago about the impact of TAM to your business. And they actually found certain ways that it was actually quantifiable in certain ways, which is really interesting, okay? So customers that went from no TAM to TAM, they saw their business disruption reduced by 50%. Their IT project velocity was increased by 33%, and infrastructure utilization was improved by about 16%. Those are just some of the heavy hitters that I pulled out of the report. It's really kind of interesting. You can Google it yourself and it'll pull up, or I got the link down there. I can send you a link afterward if you guys are interested. But all of this is to say, similar to Nintendo Power, it helps you level up and get that competitive edge. I think TAMs, with their abilities of their technical backgrounds, the tools that they have, really can help you get that competitive edge as well. So ultimately, we heard Hawk say something yesterday on stage, right, at the general session, which was, our success is defined by your success, right? And so from a TAM perspective, TAMs exist to support your success. That's what we live and breathe. And so in 2019, I started working with Mark and his team at the U.S. Senate Federal Credit Union. Can you tell us a little bit about the state of the credit union at that point?
Sure, happy to. All right, so just a quick level set on who we are very, very briefly. U.S. Senate Federal Credit Union is a credit union, as the name implies, which means we're a not-for-profit financial cooperative. Think your traditional brick and mortar retail bank. All those same sort of financial services are on the table. The main difference, though, is that the customers are referred to as members, because we don't have shareholders. The members themselves own the organization through their deposits in the enterprise. And currently, our IT team is about 17 full-time resources spread over 3, what you could call divisions, but internally we usually say pillars. We are hiring, if anyone knows any cool friends that's looking for a gig. But for the purposes of what we're talking about here and TAM engagement, we're really looking at that infrastructure and support piece, which you'll see some numbers later on what the size of that is. And kind of going back to how it started, and this was our old office, a very loving photo, as we affectionately referred to as the cardboard data center. We started our virtualization journey 8 or 9 years ago, and went from 12 bare metal servers to implementing vSAN, ESXi on a modernization journey. And we don't need to debate fire codes. That's fine. We did that enough ourselves. And as we were going down this virtualization journey, we realized that we went from these, call it a dozen bare metal servers, to then translating a dozen virtual machines, which then went to 50 virtual machines, which then went to 100 virtual machines. And we were seeing this huge velocity of impacting our operations. And then that called in demand for all sorts of other requirements in the infrastructure: networking, security, core networking itself, the storage aspect, you name it. And so we go to our partner at VMware, Broadcom. We say, okay, guys, what do we do? Because we're a small team. We don't have a whole lot of capacity and headroom to get all the strategic knowledge. And we know that there's a lot of products in the portfolio that likely we need to leverage, and not only leverage, but leverage them in the best maximized way possible. So they came back and they said,
I'm not saying it.
Hey! TAM! Low effort. So we engaged TAM services in our ELA renewal, or broader ELA execution, and began our journey with that program. And so, Ryan, do you want to share a little bit what you kind of remember coming on board with the credit union?
Yeah. So coming on board to any new customer, we like to really hit the ground running and understand what are your priorities? What have our customers' challenges been? What can we do to ease those, right? So we kind of look at short-term and long-term goals that we're going to try to help you with. And I remember at the credit union, you guys had kind of three main things you were really interested in. They wanted to optimize what they had. They wanted to reduce risk in the environment, and they wanted to move faster, which is really interesting because these guys had a lot going on, and they were moving fast because you guys were growing like crazy.
Yeah, we were growing like crazy. And I apologize if the slide does not show well on the screen. Formatting changed a little bit, but we can talk through it. So where we started, in 2014 with the beginning of that journey, and then by 2018, having about 250 virtual machines. So huge explosive growth and adoption, but almost still reliant on that very small team. And yes, we had adopted vSAN. We put it out in our branch locations. We were starting to engage it in our main production environment, but we had this big backlog, NSX, and then a vision of, okay, well, we started V, we're going to have to go to T. We wanted to start exploring VDI. We had discussions coming together at that time about moving out of the cardboard data center and going to a proper colo environment. So a lot of things on the burner that we needed to try and tackle. And that's about the time that you came in and saw all that craziness. At the point of adopting TAM and then the years that followed, not only did we clear that backlog, but we also then grew the adoption cycle and the sophistication of the enterprise by the advanced threat prevention, now vDefend, exploring DPUs through beta access programs that you were able to facilitate. And now today, starting the journey on VCF and Private AI Foundation, which I can also give you credit for, so thank you. Really proving invaluable for us as a small team to give us that strategic insight that allowed us to make good strategic decisions while also having a good channel to challenge if we needed to or report challenges. It's not really just about, I think, the journey, right? There's components of it that make up what you guys focus on.
Yeah, what I would say is any customer who's going to invest in technical adoption services, you're going to see an impact in one of these three areas, if not all three, right? People, process, and technology. These are areas that a lot of our tooling and our focuses go toward improving during an engagement. And so if I could just talk about the people aspect for a little bit, right? The credit union has some stellar people working there, doing some really neat things, putting in some long, hard hours. And one thing that really stood out to me in working with the team is how much was going into, all of their efforts were really helping move the needle in terms of adoption, innovation, their culture, and their growth overall. And so an opportunity came up within the TAM organization to nominate customers for a award of customer excellence. So an ACE award is what we'd call it. And so when that opportunity came, it was a no-brainer for me to nominate the credit union. And I was thrilled that they were able to receive that recognition through the TAM program.
Yeah, it was really a special day for us. That is a photo from back at that time of what we had of the complete IT team. And you can see the 4 individuals, so I didn't put circles around their faces or anything, that really were key as far as our infrastructure efforts and adopting all of the stack, as it were. And it literally wasn't just about getting that cool plaque or monolith sort of thing that still sits on our CEO's desk today, but the recognition that it brought internally as to the focus and commitment from the team, and really the breadth that we were able to provide. It highlighted everything we were trying to do in a way that uplifted the view to other parts of the organization and our executive leadership and board of directors. So truly, TAMs existed to support our success, and not only gave us the avenues and the channels to adopt fairly aggressively in ways that gave us this really powerful and embedded additional line of support and navigation and championship, really, but also provided a better view into IT from the outside of our group and the impact that we were trying to make on the organization. If anything else you'd want to add to that?
TAMs exist to support your success. This is both you has a lot of meanings here. You as a team, your team, you as an organization, and also you as an individual. Okay, I've had conversations with customers of mine where it's like, hey, how is success measured for you, right? In your next meeting with your manager, how's that conversation going to go? What can I do to help support that? And maybe it's something like, hey, I really need to get my VCP. And so maybe we can work on efforts toward getting that done. Or maybe it's, hey, my manager just wants to make sure that our uptime is better than it was last month or last year, right? And that they can attribute that to the works that I'm putting in toward it. And so, those successes can get down to that individual level for sure. But also, again, like talking about toward the beginning when we were looking at success planning and things like that, where it's like, we want your organization to succeed as well. And when your IT activities and objectives are aligned with the business goals, then that's kind of how it all comes together. So I guess that's how, this is a very broad statement, but it can be applied in so many different ways what the TAM program is focused on.
Awesome. So we don't have a QR code, so don't worry about that. Are there any questions? Gentleman in the front.
12 VMs to 50 in the span of 4 years. What's the explosion?
Well, I think it was, so I think that's over 9 years. No, it's okay. The slide got really messed up. So it was 2014 to 2024. Yeah, so it is. I should say that at the time of 2014, I think our asset size was 400 million assets under management. Currently, we're 1.6. So we had a pretty large, 1.6 billion, sorry. So it's pretty large just overall organization growth. And then some of the things that came in with that were line of business applications, things that the business wasn't able to do before digitally or in-house. We could create those avenues or acquire that software stack to do that. And then similarly, our adoption of VDI. So that's a big driver as well. We were a zero remote work, zero, like plenty of other organizations where we were exploring it prior to COVID as a way to secure our retail branch locations through thin clients. And then, once we realized where things were going, right. So that plays a big role, and all the associated Workspace ONE components around that, the NSX components around that. There's a lot of infrastructure pieces that are quite heavy as well. Gentleman in the back.
close.
Yeah.
25 VMs, and I talked to you here. We're not going to grow because
Yeah.
I would say no. You're not. There's no requirement, size requirement, or anything like that to engage with TAM. And we can continue that conversation offline. But yeah. I mean, so yeah, TAMs. We've worked with I've worked with small customers that have one vSphere administrator, and I've worked with customers that have 20 vSphere administrators for very large environments, right? So I've done everything from working with customers in all sorts of industries, whether it's financials or high tech or government or education, and so yeah, it's across the board for sure. So there's no size requirements or too small or too big. Yeah.
Cool question.
How do I get it?
How did you get a TAM?
So, yes. Well, there was a magic dance we had to do. No, it's no. It's a secret dance. We could talk about it during the concert tonight. No, actually, it was a really natural part of our, at the time, ELA conversation. So we worked with our account team. They're the ones that really connected the dots for us in exploring the TAM option. And I think we had a couple kind of preparatory calls in terms of exploring whether it was the right route. I seem to remember us getting on the phone a couple times before it was really a sealed deal. So we had a bit of getting to know each other and seeing, does this fit? Because we do want to see Ryan. We do see Ryan as a part of our team, really. So we want to make sure that the person we're working with is a good fit and that the program's a good fit, and it definitely was.
Yeah, so next time you're talking to your account reps, you can bring it up if you're looking at licensing or anything like that. Mention services, mention TAM, and they'll get you in touch with the TAM leadership, right? And you can always, it's not like it's a slippery slope once you start that conversation, right? You can have several conversations with TAMs and see well, what are some of the specifics about the deliverables that you have, or what you can do for our team. And here's what we're looking to do. Is this going to be a good fit, right? They definitely want it to be a successful engagement. Engagements generally last 12 months long, and you can buy multi-year engagements if you wanted. And you can also buy additional slices. So a standard tier of TAM is going to be 1 day a week of time that's dedicated to your organization. And that doesn't mean let's pick a day. Okay, Wednesday's our day.
Oh, yeah.
It's 8 hours, up to 8 hours per week. And you can buy additional slices as well that you're like, well, I want 2 days a week, or I want a dedicated TAM, 5 days, right? I don't want them to have any other customers. They're all mine.
Yeah.
So you have options.
Yeah, and I want to definitely say that even in that exercise of allocation, there's never, at least we've never experienced, oh, I'm sorry, I've done too much work for you this week. It just doesn't happen. No, it doesn't happen. And I think there's a near invaluable consideration, being able to just shoot a quick message to Ryan on any item, and immediately it's delivered to someone inside of Broadcom, and he can reply back and say, okay, I'm on it, and hunt that down and make it happen, whether it's a support issue or any of the other things we talked about. So yeah, really, really valuable. Cool.
Yeah. We're getting the time limit here, so if you guys have other questions, feel free to let us know. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you.